Everybody, to today's event. I'm Jason Gilbert from MS Dynamics World, and pleased to welcome you to our latest Portals community call. Always a pleasure to help run these with Nicholas Hayduk, who is on the line too and is going to take over momentarily. Just a couple quick notes though before we start. First, we do welcome your input and questions as we go today. Just enter them anytime into the questions block. Nick is always keeping an eye on that, and I'll help if I can. We're also recording today's event. We'll be making that available to you after the session ends. So without any further delay, Nick, I'm going to hand things over to you.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our last community call of the year. Today we're going to be talking about Visual Studio Code and how it can be used as a tool to help you build Power Pages. So why don't we get right into it here. So a quick introduction, if this is your first time joining the call with us, welcome. My name is Nicholas Hayduk. I'm the president and the software engineer at Engineered Code here in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and I've been working with the Power Pages product since about 2009 when it was known as ADX Studio Portals. ADX Studio was the company that I originally started my career with, and that built Portals, and Microsoft acquired them way back in the day. So this has been the focus of my professional life over the last number of years, and always thankful to have the opportunity to speak with kind of like-minded folks who are enjoying or at least tolerating their life with Power Pages. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, please feel free to make that connection with me. Otherwise, if you want to kind of follow the content that we do, you can do that on Twitter/X. You can follow our blog on our website. We have our YouTube channel where we post not only the recordings of this video, but also our weekly tips, as well as the podcast that I co-host with George Dubinsky. We've got an episode coming up here on one of the news items that I have to share, which is the server-side logic. So lots of ways to keep in touch and to follow all the various content that we produce on Power Pages and Power Platform. Okay, as always, just want to say thanks to Jason. I know we're kind of this would be our 6th year that we're just wrapping up. Next year, or in January, that'll be kind of our 7th year doing this. We started, I believe, in January of 2020, so it's been a great ride. No plans that I'm aware of to stop. So thanks to Jason and his team for supporting us all these years and helping us get the word out and hosting the meetings. So I really appreciate that. We'll first talk about a little bit of Portals news. Not a super long list, but like I mentioned, one really big item on there, maybe the biggest thing to happen for Power Pages, at least from a pro dev perspective, since the Web API. Then we'll talk about VS Code and how it can be leveraged for Power Pages, and we'll finish off with the date and time of our next community call, and as always, leave some time for Q&A. As Jason mentioned, just drop your questions in that questions area, and I will do my best to keep an eye on those and answer those as they come up. So, what do we got for Portals news? Yeah, so the big one is server logic. So server logic is JavaScript that runs on the Power Pages server. So it allows you to write secure JavaScript that the client can't mess with, and do things like calling Dataverse, calling other third-party APIs, and do that in a secure way. So many of the use cases before where we might be using the companion app architecture, for which we have a call or two on in our kind of history, can be often replaced with this new server logic functionality. And we'll see at least an example of that because VS Code is the way that you do that. So we'll see that. So that was kind of the big news. The other thing that they've announced, again, all part of this VS Code, so it's kind of good timing for this call, is the CodeQL code scan. And so that's a feature within VS Code desktop that you can kind of scan all the stuff that you've downloaded from your Power Pages site, and it can kind of give you recommendations, advice on that, on your code. So those are the two things that have come out recently for Power Pages. Again, that server logic, it's not one of those things that's going to introduce any new capabilities we couldn't do before, again, because we had the companion app architecture with the implicit grant flow for securing it. But I think it's going to make it, it makes it a lot simpler. It means a much simpler architecture. And I think there's going to be times when maybe a companion app just wouldn't have been kind of worth the hassle, and so you might have done it in a different way. This makes it easy to accomplish some of those scenarios without introducing more complexity to your architecture. So that is certainly the big news for Power Pages this time of year. Okay, and if you do have any questions about server logic, like I said, we did George and I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week. So that should be coming up soon. Yeah, I've seen some things about it. I certainly have my opinions, but yeah, if you have any questions, I can do my best to answer those as well. So today's topic is, again, VS Code and Power Pages. So VS Code, what is VS Code? So Visual Studio Code is an open source IDE, integrated development environment, which is basically a fancy way of saying it's where we write code. For many years, in the Microsoft ecosystem, the primary IDE was Visual Studio. Visual Studio is not free. It's still kind of the go-to way that a lot of people are developing, C# applications, kind of Windows-based applications. But Visual Studio Code is an open source option for accomplishing a lot of the things you can do with web development, so JavaScript, HTML, CSS, but really lets you write all sorts of code. So I know for me it's kind of my primary text editor these days. I use it for all sorts of things. I use it to write the scripts for the weekly tip the weekly tip videos. And a lot of our development these days related to Power Pages, as we'll see here, is done within VS Code. So there are two kind of primary flavors of VS Code. There's a desktop version, so it's an application that you can install on your PC. I think there's a Mac version, and there's also a version that's accessible on the web. So there's kind of a completely in-browser experience for VS Code as well. And so Power Pages has integrated both of these versions into their kind of the different maker experiences. So and we'll kind of look at the various options that we get when we're using VS Code for desktop, VS Code for web. Both of those are kind of things that have been integrated into the Power Pages maker experience. So the really easy one, doesn't require you to install anything, and you can kind of get access within a couple of clicks, is VS Code for web. So let's look at that kind of first. So how do we access the VS Code for web specifically for Power Pages? There's actually a number of ways that you can get at it. Specifically within the Power Pages Design Studio, there's a number of kind of different links you can go to. So if you're in the editing a page, there's an edit code button. If you're editing a site header or footer, there's an edit code button. If you're in the styling workspace and you go and view kind of your some custom CSS files, again, there's going to be a button there that opens Visual Studio Code, as well as if you're editing server logic. So let's kind of take a look at how that works. So here I am in my Visual Studio, or sorry, in my Power Pages Design Studio. And again, you're just going to see wherever you see edit code, and then this right here is our icon for VS Code. Whenever you see that, you can click that. It's always going to ask you, hey, are you sure you're going over to Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio Code? You sure you want to do that? Click that, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up VS Code. So once that loads, it's going to warn you, hey, you're editing a live public site. So this is obviously specific to Power Pages. So there's lots of things within Power Pages that are, lots of things within VS Code, this experience, that are specific to Power Pages. So as we'll see here, essentially Microsoft has developed an extension to VS Code for Power Platforms. The extension is called the Power Platform Tools extension, and that includes quite a bit of features specific for Power Pages. In the web version, we do have kind of a smaller scope of functionality. There's things you can do in the desktop version that you can't do in the web version. But this is what we get kind of when we open up the web version. So once we've clicked on that link, what it's going to do is it's going to go directly to the HTML file for the page that I was on. So you can see here I was on the Create a New Golf Course. That's going to kick me over and it's going to open that up. But once I'm in here, I have access to all of these different files, all of these different folders for VS Code. So let me just cancel that for a second. I'm just going to go into maybe even just the home page here. We're going to click on this. I'm going to again edit code. I'm going to pop open a new window for me here. Hit site, and again, that's going to open up my home page. And so then I have the option here to just put some text in here. I'm just going to put PCC right here at the beginning. I'm going to hit save. That's going to save my file back to Dataverse. And then I'm going to go, and then what I can do is I can click the preview button. So this is one of the things that exists as part of that extension to Power Pages. The Power Platform extension for VS Code. This is something that's kind of specific to Power Pages. So I'm going to open that up. And there we go. We'll go PCC. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go PCC 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to click save. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to refresh. And you'll notice that nothing's changed. And that's because it's almost a requirement in every one of our calls that we talk about caching. Because as with almost anything related to Power Pages, we have to talk a little bit about caching. So this interface here, when we're accessing our code in Visual Studio Code for web, the web version, we essentially have a direct kind of connection almost to Dataverse. So when I save the file, what's happening is that file is being updated directly in Dataverse. This is kind of no different than if, say, you edit it in the XRM toolbox, you save it back, you still have to clear the cache. So that's what this preview site button does. Not only does it open up the tab over here, it also sends a request to Power Pages to clear the cache. So if I were to go here, and I'm going to click open. Now we can see that the change has been made. If I were to refresh this one, the change would show up there as well. So when you're using VS Code, you got to make sure that you're using the preview functionality and clearing the cache. Now, if I go back here, I'm just going to hit the cancel button here. I'm going to refresh, see our changes happen here. Many of you can probably guess as to what's probably going to happen here. Edit site. Loading. Oh, of course, it did work this time. So I'm going to just do this one more time. I probably waited too long. If I do this, save, refresh this, what I'm expecting is for this to not change. And that's because what I'm trying to emphasize here is that there is a different cache for the Design Studio as compared to so you can still see it here. So when you click this edit code button, you say that, it's going to open this up. Now you come back here, it says once the edit is complete, click the sync button. So this sync button, which is equivalent to this sync button up here, this is the kill the cache button for the Design Studio. So the preview kills the cache of your portal, of your main website. The sync button clears the cache of the Design Studio. So now that I click this sync button, this should then display my changes. So that's why whenever you open up something in VS Code, Microsoft's always kind of like, hey, do you want to sync now? Like, we know you probably made some changes. Do you want to sync now? So if I were to, another way to kind of get into the VS Code extension here is click Edit Site Header, and we've got this edit code. Again, we're going to go through that same experience. It's going to pop open, and this time it's going to open up my header web template. It's going to give me all these options. So just to highlight the other places where that is possible. Now, if you go into the styling workspace and we go into here and we say manage CSS, and we have our custom CSS files. I've got some custom files. I've got the ability to open that up. Again, the idea here is that all of these places are really just deep linking into specific files in VS Code. Really, once you kind of open it, chances are you're not going to kind of keep coming back to the Design Studio to find the right file. You can just kind of browse to where you need to go right in here. So in this case, here's the CSS file. But if I go back here and I want to browse that other CSS, that NH_more, I can just go here and I can make the changes. So you can edit more than just the file that took you there. That's really just kind of a way to start the experience. That's how you get into VS Code for web. But once you're in, you can kind of stay there and kind of do your work in there. You don't have to kind of keep flipping back and forth, especially now that they've given us some of these extra actions that weren't there originally. When this feature first came out, we didn't have the ability to say preview from VS Code, so kind of had this open to do your preview. But those are kind of the ways that you can get into VS Code from the Design Studio. The other one is, where did they hide server logic? Setup? Yeah. So if we go into the server logic, we wait for that to open. Again, this is going to, once it loads, while I'm waiting here, so Jim's asking, what about the other direction, refreshing the already open instance of VS Code with changes that have been made in the Design Studio or Management app? My technique is to refresh VS Code. I'm not aware of there being any kind of easy way in here to make those changes. I believe if you refresh the page, it should just pull the changes, but I don't know of a way in here. In the desktop version, there's a way to pull those using the download command, but in here, as far as I know, you just refresh the page. There is, and maybe I'll kind of show an example of that. Let me just reload this. The site. So if I say new server log, I guess I don't have any server logic in here. PCC test. So if I do that, let's just do that. Didn't love that, hey? That's why it says it's in preview. Anyways, you can trust me that once you have server logic in here, there's going to be that same edit button, which is going to take you over here, and there's this server logics folder here. Now, within this interface, there's no way to kind of create new pages or templates or anything like that. So this is simply a way to edit things. We'll see in a little bit how with VS Code Desktop there are some other features. Getting back to kind of Jim's question about the refresh. So if I were to go back to here and go back to my pages, I'm going to just kill this, kind of start from scratch here. So I got my home page. I'm going to say edit code. I'm going to do this. That's going to open up that page. But in the meantime, I'm going to put in here change 1. That's going to autosave. Then I'm going to go back here. Oh, darn, I already changed 1. So I'm going to say change 2. That's going to autosave. Now I'm going to say change 3. and we'll see that it is smart enough to know that it has changed somewhere else. So you have the option here to overwrite or compare. So in this case, I'm just going to overwrite. I'm going to go back here, and then if I were to sync, I would see change 3 in there. But if you do have people kind of working in different places and there are changes happening, there is some detection about what those changes are. I wouldn't say that it's 100% foolproof, but yeah, certainly an effort's there made to not be kind of overriding things in different places. Okay, so those are, I kind of showed you the different ways that you can get into VS Code for Web from the Design Studio. There are ways that you can get in from the management app. So when you're looking at the web page copy, when you're looking at web template source, custom JavaScript on list and forms, content snippets, and the web file command bar, those are the different ways in the model-driven app that you can access VS Code as well. So let's take a peek at that. So if I am in the model-driven Power App, I'm just going to actually switch over because the one I'm demoing right now is standard data model. Flip over here. And so let's just say look at web templates. If I go into one that is a web template, that is there, you can see here that Microsoft is like, hey, do you want to edit this in Visual Studio Code for Web? Click the button. Similar experience. Again, it's just going to be a deep link specifically to that template. So there's your 100% blank page template. But we could have also got that way by just going in here, web templates. Here's the same thing. So if we go back here, again, other ways you can get into it is if you're looking at a particular web page and you're looking at the localized content for a page, we've got the option there to open in VS Code. What else? We have content snippets. So if we look at one of those, same option here. If you're looking at a basic form, we look at one of these and we look at the additional settings, we'll have the JavaScript. Again, the option to open up in Visual Studio Code. That also exists on lists. And then the last one, if you go to a web file. And let me just pick one that is CSS. Go in here. There's this open in VS Code button. Again, similar experience. So again, just different ways to get to this one experience. For the most part, at the beginning of your day, you'll open up one and you'll probably just kind of stick in here and you won't be kind of navigating those other experiences to open it. But there's kind of a bunch of ways that are kind of deep linked into those into VS Code for Web. All right, so like I said, all these options are just those deep links. Now, there's quite a bit of functionality that maybe doesn't have kind of those same necessarily kind of like links. So if you're in the Design Studio and you want to edit a web template, just click the edit code somewhere else and you can get to things like web templates. If we go back and we actually look in the VS Code, what do we have access to? So we have the ability to edit web templates, web pages, web files, the server logic, the JavaScript on lists, content snippets, the JavaScript on basic forms, and the JavaScript on advanced forms. I don't have any advanced forms in this environment, but those are the things that you are able to edit in the VS Code for Web. VS Code for Web also gives you the Copilot in Power Pages. Now, I believe that I still don't get this because I'm in Canada and they haven't made that available in my Canadian data center. But if you were, say, in the US, then yeah, if you had that, if you're in the US, you'd be able to use the Copilot for Power Pages right in here as well. Going back to my actions, now I talked about the preview. You've also got the open in Power Pages Studio. So if I do this, then it opens up this other experience. So we're kind of going in a little bit of a circle here. Okay, normally that would work, but you get the idea. And then here's another bit of new functionality. I think it's within the last month or so, there's this open in VS Code desktop. So if I were to click this, what it's going to do is it's going to open up my VS Code. Now, if I didn't have VS Code desktop already installed, it would kind of take me through the process. Hey, this is where you can download it, kind of take you through that process. Now it wants the location on my computer where I want to store this site. I've already got it downloaded, so I'll just select here. And what it's going to do there is going to just use the PackCLI to execute that download command, and it's going to open up my folder in VS Code Desktop. So it's just kind of a quick way that saves you from having to create a bunch of connections and run the right commands to pull down your VS Code, your site into VS Code Desktop, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So those are the actions that we have in the VS Code for Web. Again, there's the preview, which clears the cache, open in Power Pages Studio, and that kind of easy open up in VS Code Desktop option. As I mentioned, don't forget about caching. When you're editing VS Code, you got to make sure that you're clearing that cache using the preview button. Okay, other questions. Larry, I'll deal with your server-side question here probably near the end. Scott, when we open VS Code Web, can we link it to Git repos, i.e. tell Power Pages in which directory it will download the files? I don't believe so, not that I'm aware of. If you're opening up VS Code for Web from Power Pages, I think that kind of lives in its own little area, and I don't know that you can tell it to open up a Git repo. I think you can use VS Code to open up a Git repo, but that's going to be different than the VS Code for Web kind of that's embedded into the product. That was my understanding. All right. So that's kind of what we get with VS Code for Web. Essentially, rather than the Power Pages product team developing their own kind of editor for JavaScript and HTML, way back in the day, they decided to, hey, let's just kind of embed VS Code for Web and make it easy to use that. And they've just continually added more features since then. It works kind of very well. It's for someone like me, who I'm kind of doing a little bit on lots of different projects, it's really easy just to kind of get in there. I got my VS Code editor. Rather than kind of downloading and uploading and all this stuff locally, I can just kind of quickly jump into VS Code for Web. So I use the VS Code for Web a ton. And it's nice and kind of easy to use. Now let's talk about VS Code Desktop. So the first thing, you obviously need to have VS Code Desktop installed. It's free, open source, that's all good. And then you need to install the Power Platform Tools extension. So that's just kind of in here. You go into your extensions, and there's this Power Platform Tools extension that you install. Pretty quick and easy. Might be some issues with it. I have a little story because this was actually updated earlier today, 4 hours, and I'll take a little bit of credit for that because they fixed a bug that I reported last night, and that tells you how quickly they are at fixing things. So VS Code for the desktop version. So again, once you have this installed, generally what you would do is, if you go into your Explorer, you're going to have these Power Pages actions. And I'm just going to log in here. And this is all going to be kind of hooked up to the PackCLI and all the kind of the environments that you're hooked into. So in this particular environment, in this tenant, I've got 2 environments. So I do have the ability here to pick between my 2 different environments. If I do that, that will switch over to my other Dataverse environment, and I will see the updates to which sites I can deal with. So this Power Pages actions area here, this is again specific to this extension. Once I have it installed, I'm just going to flip back to my original environment, but I can see my active and inactive sites. Active sites are those that are active and inactive here. This is referring to whether there's actually kind of Azure Web Resources enabled for that particular Power Pages site. So that's kind of corresponding with, if I go back to here and I go to home, this is kind of active or inactive. So for inactive sites, you have actually the option to say, hey, I want to reactivate this. When you click on this, it's basically going to open up a browser and take you through the same process that you would get if you were to go to inactive and click this reactivate. So essentially kind of a deep link into there. What else can we do on this? Here we can also see the site details. So if I do this, it's going to be a pop-up that's telling you the name and the ID and the model, who created it, when. What else do we have for inactive sites? You also have the ability to open up site management. So that's going to be the, let's see here. So that's going to open up your portals management or Power Pages management app. For active sites, there's kind of two categories here. There's current. So current is the one that we're actually have open in the as the folder. And all the other ones are ones that are active, but not necessarily kind of downloaded or open on your machine. So for the active but not current, we can preview those. We can download them. We can, again, view the site details, or we can open in the Power Pages Studio. For the active site, we can preview, we can see the site details. We can also reveal and explore. So that means we can open, if I just do this, it's going to pop open my Windows Explorer. We can open in the studio. And then the big ones are we can upload the site and we can download the site. So this is just helping us with the PackCLI commands to download and upload our site. So download site's going to get the latest version of all the changes, and upload are going to take any of the changes that we've made here locally and push those up to the into Dataverse. So you need to, after you've made some changes to your local version, if you want those to actually be applied to your Dataverse environment, you'd use the upload command. And then the last one here, this is new. Again, I talked about in the news. There's this run code QL screening. You click this button, it runs a process. I think it depends on how kind of complex your site is, but it will run a scan of all the stuff here that's been downloaded. I think it's kind of mostly looking through, JavaScript and HTML, that sort of stuff, looking for kind of known vulnerabilities. It will give you a report of what they, what the code QL screening agent has found. So let's talk about like what we can kind of edit in there. So one thing that's kind of unique to the desktop version of the VS Code extension is to be able to create, rename, and delete components. So if I go back into here, I have the ability, if I want to, I can actually create new web pages. Again, I couldn't do that with the VS Code for web, but if I just click in on any of the folders or files, I have this Power Pages thing in the context menu, and I can go new web page, new page template, new web template, new content snippet, or new asset, which is a web file. So if I want to create a new content snippet, what it's going to do is it's then kind of step me through some of the things that I need in order to create each object. So a content snippet, I'm going to say PCC December 2025, hit enter. It's asking me what type I want, and I'll say HTML. And now I should see in here a content snippet for that. Oh, wait, sorry, still creating it down here. Waiting. Now, if I just quickly go back here, now I am in the kite one, I believe, right? Kite fan club, yes. Okay, so let's just open that one up. That is in, go back to here, active sites, kite fan club. I'm just going to open up the Power Pages management. And we can use, we're going to content snippets, and we're just going to look for PCC, and there'll be nothing with that because we haven't uploaded anything yet. Go back here, so snippet created. You can see now we got PCC Dev 2025. and it's got all the stuff. And I can go in here and I can generate some code. Now, what I've just showed you here quickly is another feature that you get as part of the VS Code extension, and that is autocomplete. So you'll see here, I just typed in 4, boom, hit enter. Now it's kind of templating me out this thing. So there are a number of things you can do. There's assign, all these different kind of autocomplete features that exist. You can also do, it's also got all these liquid objects. So there's liquid tags that it has. There's these liquid objects. You can see here the full list of kind of liquid objects that it has. The other thing, and this is the thing they actually fixed. I emailed them at about 10 o'clock last night. And by about 9 a.m. this morning, the product team had it fixed and had released a new version of the extension for this. And that was the ability to, if I'm in a page template, here, you got this page template ID, and that's pointing at, oh no, that's right. That's right. No, that's not the right one. This one right here. So we got this web template. Let's see if this is going to work. Yeah. So they actually can autocomplete. It's finding all the web templates that you can select here. So that is why there was an update done about 4 hours ago. So really appreciate the product team dealing with the email I sent them last night. I was working through preparing for this call, as well as some of the tips that I have coming up. So autocomplete here on the templates, and then autocomplete in the code for some liquid statements as well. So let's just put into this template, or into here, I'll just do a for loop, find, save. Now I've saved that locally. Again, if I go back here, that content snippet doesn't exist. What I have to do is I have to upload my site. That'll take a second. While that's uploading, Felix has asked, can we use GitHub Copilot to generate Liquid or JS code? The answer is yes. I mean, you can use kind of any tools that you want to generate Liquid or JavaScript code, depending on how well they've been trained. I believe in GitHub Copilot, there's an actual like Power Pages, I forget the exact word for it, but there's something specific in Power Pages where you can tell it, hey, I'm trying to do this in Power Pages, and it can help you out. And then, yeah, you can definitely kind of use that in your site as well. So my site has been uploaded. Now, if I go back to here, I've got my content snippets. So again, this is something only available in the desktop version where you can actually create things. You can also rename. So to rename, what you do is you can go into here and you can right click, rename, and just rename the main kind of YAML file associated with something. I'm going to call this V2, and see how that kind of changes all these folders, changes everything in here. Then if I were to, first what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this one up to show you that it's still the same record. We've got our ID, back into here, go into here, upload site, connecting, uploading. Upload is done. If I go back here, in theory, I should refresh this and it should say V2. There we go. So again, something that's exclusive to the VS Code for desktop. Now, the last thing I'll show you here is the deleting. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've had mixed results with this. Sometimes it has worked, sometimes it has not. So let's see how it's going to work today. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this. Usually it's always deleted that folder. Interesting. Undo. Here are the mixed results that I'm referring to. Maybe it had some trouble with, okay, let's just try that again. Content snippets. Okay, I'm going to try deleting this. Yeah, so there it goes. as you can see, mixed results already. So deleting that one file, deleted the folder, and then in theory, what I should be able to do is I should be able to upload. And if I go back here, I look for PCC, it should be gone. Says it's successful, no changes detected, but it's gone from our site. So this is where I've kind of seen some mixed results. Now, if I download the site again, the content snippet comes back. Let's just try one more time. Now it's gone. Upload site. This time it said it found one record to process. Let's see if we have better results here. Okay, so now it's gone. So as you can see, I don't know that I would be deleting a whole lot of things this way. It doesn't seem to be totally consistent. I'm not sure kind of what the tech behind how they're kind of tracking all that sort of stuff, but there seems to be some kinks to work out as well there. I reported those to the product team as well, based on how quickly they fixed the other thing. Hopefully they'll get on this as well. It's just a little bit harder to, I know it's always more difficult to debug something that's not as consistent to reproduce, because I don't know what I changed between those, but you know, one time it worked, one time it didn't. But again, you can use it to definitely the create and the rename seem to be pretty solid, and you can try the delete as well. All right, let's see what we got for questions. Felix says, is that YAML file represents the content snippet or its parent folder? So this YAML file represents so within the content snippets, there's a folder that has the name of that content snippet, and within there, there's generally two files. One is the main YAML file that contains all the different properties, and then there's another HTML file. So I would have thought you could delete the folder, but I never really had any much luck with that. Same with like renaming. So I had the best results by dealing with the actual kind of main YAML file for that. So I've always, that's what I could get to work. If I tried to say rename, let's just try one here. Logo URL. Rename this. If I renames, oh, logo URL. What I found was if I tried to rename this, it just went back to what it was. So I think there's something as part of the extension that's saying, no, I don't want you to rename the folder. I want you to rename the file. So that was my experience. The last thing I want to point out here is the file icons. Now we saw the file icons in the desktop version. They're also in the web version, but basically for these certain folders, we got kind of fancy little icons that are specific to Power Pages. In VS Code Desktop, you do have control. So when you install the extension, it says, hey, do you want to use the Power Apps Portals file icons? You can also do that preferences, themes, file icon theme, and you have these options here. So if you select the Power Apps Portals icons, that's where you'll see those extra fancy icons. And so that, in a nutshell, is kind of the extension for VS Code for Power Pages. Again, there's Copilot in here as well. So if you were to open up the Power Platform, there's the Copilot in Power Pages. Again, I'm in Canada, so we don't get nice things. But there's a Copilot experience in here as well for Power Pages. Again, the key thing here is like, how do we get the files down to our local machine? And that's how we're using the download. But again, that is just a wrapper for the Pack CLI. So when I do my download commands, for example, or my uploads, you'll see right in the console, it's literally just running your Pack CLI, pages, upload, all that sort of stuff. So most of these actions are just kind of UI enhancements on top of that. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it when it comes to Power Pages and VS Code. So I will jump back to my VS Code desktop. Yeah, we talked about the rename, talked about the file icons, and the code autocomplete. Okay, I know there's some questions about server-side logic, so I'll just wrap up kind of our regular stuff here. So our next call in the new year, can't believe it's already 2026, will be January 15th. So hope you can all join us for that. Maybe I'll talk about server-side logic. I almost talked about server-side logic this month, but I thought it was maybe a little premature. So maybe we can talk about that next time. But as always, if you have any ideas for what you want covered, honestly, the hardest part about these calls is thinking up new topics. I guess we've done like 65 of them. I've done 350 tips. I just really struggle usually with what do people actually want. So let me know what topics you think would be interesting for next month. Again, thanks to Jason. Happy almost 6th anniversary, I think, or 7th anniversary, whatever it is. And let's handle some questions. So I see one here from Larry. It says, do you have an early take on how server-side logic may be accessible from within code apps? What's a code app? Is that the like generative pages stuff, or I guess I don't know exactly what a code app is. I believe the way the server-side logic works is it's an API that you can hit from your JavaScript on Power Pages. So it's kind of like a way of extending almost the web API. If Code Apps is outside of Power Pages, then I wouldn't expect server-side logic to be applicable at all. There have been questions about why do we have this new server-side logic idea when we already have unbound actions in Dataverse, and if we just had the ability to execute or run unbound actions via the web API, why can't we just do them that way? I know that there are security concerns, like that Microsoft is not satisfied with how they could secure unbound actions. With the web API, there's a clear kind of table of permissions and other ways to kind of secure those. I don't know that they've settled on unbound actions. I think you can maybe run bound actions through the API on server side because you've got that layer of security in there. But I also think that instead of relying on custom like the APIs within Dataverse, which do require, you're kind of doing C# and uploading things with the plugin registration utility and all that sort of stuff. This, as you saw, like if we create a new one, we're editing it right in VS Code. You can have a new one created in mere seconds. Whereas if you kind of don't have experience with Dataverse plugins, like there's certainly a kind of a bigger learning curve to that than just, hey, here's some JavaScript that I'm writing. My understanding is that it is essentially a node service running on the web application that hosts your Power Pages site, and so that's where the code is executing. And yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's going to be a big help, and it's going to make it possible to do some more advanced things on kind of relatively smaller projects. On bigger projects where where a companion app wasn't that big of a deal, we could do those things. But I think that it's going to open up some more advanced things. Payment capture is one where it's like really pretty straightforward to do in a nice way, in a secure way now with server-side logic. So really looking forward to using that. Andrew's asking about DocuSign in Power Pages. That might have been in reference to something I was talking about. Andrew, I don't know if you want to clarify. Like there is a DocuSign kind of proof of concept that I don't know that they've ever really finished or made public. And then Larry, okay, I see. Larry's provided me a link. Let me see what this thing does. Code apps. Okay, these are these new. Okay, Power Apps and Code Apps, custom web apps built in a code-first IDE. My gut tells me that Code Apps. This will have nothing to do with Code Apps. This is something specific to Power Pages. That's what my guess is. So. Power Apps and Code Apps let developers bring Power Apps capabilities into custom web apps built in a code-first IDE. Yeah, I would say that it is not going to apply. Now, the server-side logic would probably apply. Oh, I see. Okay, Manju, I see DocuSign and Power Pages as a topic. Gotcha. Thank you, Manju. Yeah, now I get it. I would say with single-page applications, which is something that we covered last month, the server-side logic would probably be a big help with those. Again, Power Pages is really more targeted at the external audiences for the most part. And so I think server-side logic will make it so that these single-page applications have a lot more functionality to them as well. Yeah, I agree. Larry just said when he first heard of Code Apps, it reminded me of how you can work with an SPA and Power Pages. Yeah, it does sound like it's like a completely single page application version of Power Apps. But yeah, I'm from what I know, the server logic is very specific to Power Pages. I haven't heard of it. It's not like a core feature of Dataverse. I believe it's been kind of implemented by the product pages or the Power Pages team, and so honestly, I would expect that they would have it would not be accessible from these Code Apps. All right. Any other questions? I see there. Dealt with that one. All right, folks. Well, I think that's probably it for today. I hope everyone has an enjoyable holiday season. Take some time off, hang out with friends and family, and we'll see you all in the new year. Thanks, everyone.
All right. And yeah, we wish the same to you, Nick. Thanks again for putting in so much time and effort into these events. It's always a pleasure partnering with you on it. And thanks to everyone in the audience. We will end things there. Have a good day, everyone.